Good morning, and thank you for once again joining us at the NavAir booth. We have another wonderful speaker joining us today. We'll hear from him, then we'll open up the floor to your questions. We're joining you here. We're also on LinkedIn virtually, so we'll hopefully get some questions from that audience there as well. Please welcome Mr. Jerry Swift, Director for the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division's AIRWorks Group. Today, Jerry provides a brief overview of what AIRWorks brings to naval aviation, some successful use cases where NOC-AD is making an impact, and information on how industry partners in the audience today can get involved. Jerry, now over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Everybody hear me okay out there? All right. And many thanks to the Navy League for hosting this event and having us here today. It's an honor to be able to talk to this forum and to be able to talk about AIRWorks. Next slide. So AIRWorks often ask, what's the difference between AIRWorks, SOFWorks, AFWorks, a number of different rapid capability offices that exist across the different services. For AIRWorks, we are embedded in the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, NOC-AD, affectionately known, and we are a direct program office for the NOC-AD commander. What that means is that at the Warfare Center level, with all the capabilities that are spread across the Warfare Center, Tony Smith, Tuna, gave you a good briefing earlier today on everything that the Warfare Center has to offer, not only from a technology enrichment environment, technology transition environment, and a exercise environment, but really from a basic laboratory and warfare capability development area. The Warfare Center needed a central office that could bring all of that together in a project-based fashion to be able to move technology rapidly that had been identified as being a game changer or being something that needed to be rapidly delivered to the basic Navy aircraft fleet. So AIRWorks was stood up in 2014 to start building an office that could network across the Warfare Center, bring project teams together, and run fast to deliver capability inside the acquisition cycle, typically to try to deliver products within a year and a half to 24 months and get that capability onto our platforms at a much faster speed than what we had done by traditional acquisition practices. And so in 2014, we stood up AIRWorks, and now basically in our 7th year, we're up to the size of running 30 projects across the command for each one of our PEOs, customers, and then also doing additional projects with DoD partners like the U.S. Coast Guard and the United States Special Operations Command, as well as some of the COCOM customers. AIRWorks is product-based, so everything we do in the AIRWorks environment is all about running a project fully reimbursed by a customer, whether that be a PEO or a platform customer within the naval aviation or with one of our DoD partners. So we live and thrive off of pulling teams together, executing fast, and delivering capability at a quality product over to our warfighters. Next chart. To set up that ecosystem 7 years ago, and then now to make it much more robust. Sorry, you told me not to step next to the speaker. To make it more robust, we set up a number of enablers. One of the first things that we did is being able to leverage talent across the Warfare Center to bring them onto projects. We teamed up with each of our functional and our group leads to bring them in a board of directors fashion to be able to run rapidly and grab folks. The second thing we did is we brought empowerment into the AIRWorks project office to be able to do things rapidly like the system engineering technical review process, the certification processes. And then even more importantly, we were able to tailor projects with the DoD 5000 and be able to put acquisition constructs in that allowed us to do that review process faster and get product out. So with that combination, as well as setting up a very robust contracting environment, so that not only can we do work organically within the Warfare Center, but also be able to reach out to industry partners and have industry partners on pre-existing contracts, far part contracts, so that we could go out in an IDIQ fashion and get work done, get work on contract within a quarter to 2 quarters. All of that set up the environment to what we have today to be able to run fast. Next chart. We have 2 basic business models in the AIRWorks environment. First, we like to do rapid capabilities and be in that bridge for what Tony Schmidt, Tuna, talked about earlier today, that as the Warfare Center starts to look at and explore and go into technology areas, when they find, especially in their exercise environments, that a technology is ready to transition, what we had in the past was with the program offices is that once that technology is identified, now you're in the POM cycle, right? You're sitting there, and as a program manager, you say, I really want to get that onto my platform, but now I've got to go put my POM issue sheet in. I'm probably 2 years away from getting seed money. I've got this whole 2-year gap of being able to run fast. Well, wouldn't it be great, right, if you had a project office at the Warfare Center that you didn't necessarily have to go out and contract with, but you could go right straight into prototyping with maybe a smaller amount of seed money, get things going while you're laying in the larger acquisition piece. That's what we do on the rapid capability side, on our project side, as well as doing classified projects. But we're able to help Tony bridge that gap with those program offices to accelerate technology in a more rapid fashion inside the acquisition cycle. So that's one of our business models. The second is this. If you're a platform at NavAir and you're late in your production cycle or you're into full sustainment, wouldn't it be great if you had an alternate way to get capability on your aircraft, especially if you had a number of ECPs stacked up, if you had kits on the shelf that your OEM that has been with you for the entire time, maybe they just don't have the capacity. Maybe they don't have the bandwidth to get all that iron flow onto your aircraft. Wouldn't it be great if you could reach into a warfare center that has organic LSI capability and has modification capability right on their airdrome, and then also a partnership with mid-tier industry to maybe get more iron flow onto your aircraft, to get those kits out there, to do a partnership with an alternative, that OEM, to get capability on that may have been a couple years away just because of capacity issues with your OEM. That's the additional thing that we do in AIRWorks. We're an alternative, really a complement to those OEMs for your major aircraft systems to be able to help out, get field teams out in the field, to be able to integrate with your phase, your depot lines, and be able to get iron flow onto your aircraft to get more ECPs, more capability into your aircraft platform. Next chart. Now, all that being said, one of the main things that the current commander, Admiral Lemon, wanted to really emphasize is that as a warfare center, we want to make sure that we're doing this in a fairly deliberate fashion. We don't want to necessarily set up competition between the different units within NavAir. We want to make sure that at a NavAir leadership level and at a NOC AD leadership level, that we are very discriminatory about how we bring work in. So we have a very deliberate workflow acceptance process. We prioritize across our customer sets, both Navy and non-Navy, to make sure we have capacity. So that if we, as a warfare center, say that we're going to do work, that we can stand behind that work, deliver it on the cost and schedule and at the quality that that customer expects from us. Then once we bring that work in, Admiral Lemon stood up over the last couple of years a mission integration cell that has all the senior leaders within the Warfare Center that sit at a table 3 times a week that we talk about business and we talk about what we're doing for our warfighting customers. And so we make sure that the right match is done between an office within the NOC to the capability office that can actually deliver product. Obviously, AIRWorks, ARPED office, Webster Field, Aircraft Prototyping System Division, Prototyping Instrumentation Experimentation Director. Those are all players that can be brought to bear for a PEO or a PMA or a DoD customer to make sure that we have the work in the right place. So we have, of the $3.5 billion of investment in the Warfare Center that happens on an annual basis, we're running really around $350, $375 million in projects a year for the Warfare Center. So you can see it's a subset. We make sure as a networking office, as well as an execution office, that we're putting the right customer into the right place, and do that in complement with the Warfare Center leadership. Right? Makes sense? Next chart. One of the main tenets of AIRWorks, as well as a couple of the other offices within the Warfare Center, like Webster Outlying Field, is that we're government lead system integrators. Let me repeat that. AIRWorks is a government lead system integrator. What that means is we run projects cradle to grave, so that for a platform customer, a PMA customer, we're just like going to the OEM to get work done. A program office can come to us with needing to integrate a capability onto their aircraft, instead of that program office having to stand up their own integrated product team, try to go get additional resources, try to get contracts in place, try to do the design work themselves, bring expertise that they probably didn't necessarily have on stack. We already have that at the ready to go, especially doing aircraft modification work. So all the program office has to do is come into our environment, give us their requirement, and we can work with them and take that project over cradle to grave and deliver it on a cost and on a schedule that meets their requirement. Next chart. In addition, not only are we a government LSI that can run the project cradle to grave, we also have tremendous industrial capability at the Warfare Center. Across the top of the chart there, those are three major manufacturing complexes that we have at Pax River, at Lakehurst, and at Webster Field. We have organic aircraft modification capability. Now, this has evolved over the years out of our Orange Wire shop, AVMI, our air vehicle instrumentation shop that we use for a test, and we have grown that capability over the last two decades, so that now we have aircraft modification similar to FAR Part 145 repair facilities, major repair and overhaul facilities, right at the Pax River complex. When we go out and do aircraft modification work, most of the times we partner with the Aircraft Prototype System Division and start that technical data package, that prototyping development right there at Pax River. And then across the bottom of the chart, we have pre-existing, preset IDIQ contracts for both prototyping and limited production, and now full rate production with mid-tier industry and small business to be able to transition from the tech data package development, the prototyping development, right straight into low rate production, all the way to go ahead and resetting the entire fleet with a capability. That is resident, and it is very healthy within the Warfare Center environment. So you have a government LSI, you have a tremendous industrial capability, and you have a partnership with mid-tier industry and small business that's at the ready to be able to put capability onto naval aviation aircraft and other DoD partner aircraft as well. That we really consider that to be a national resource, and something that we want to really take to the next level and take to the next generation of being able to do more and more work, more in an organic sense across our aviation platforms. Next chart. When we talk about our contracting relationship that we have with mid-tier industry and small business, not only have we done that on the more deliberate side with what I talked about with the prototyping, limited production MAC, and with the full rate production MAC, but we're also running faster now in that environment, working with the ARPED folks of being able to link into what they're doing in the impacts environment, and also with our OTA consortium with the NASC. What we have found in some of the work that we've been doing here over the last 2 years, just like with what Tony used as examples this morning, is that we can do a tech scan across industry with the impacts environment, get commercial off-the-shelf capability that could meet a warfighter requirement into a demonstration environment, and then go and buy initial prototypes in an OTA environment with the option to be able to go into early production or even full rate production, or transition it into that next environment. All of that is preset. All of that's ready to go. All of that is at the beck and call of our PEOs and PMAs today. Next chart. To just emphasize that point, I'm going to talk about 4 different examples across that spectrum to be able to give you a glance at some of the capability we produced over the last couple of years. In our prototyping environment, we've done a number of projects right at Pax River, but even more in conjunction with our small business partners to take a requirement that may not be fully matured, work with that program office, take that requirement to the next level, get it solidified, get resourcing established, and then go and show that deliberate prototype and then graduate it. One of our hugely success stories that started back in 2017 was our work on the 860 Sierra Seahawk gunner seat. The gunner seat at the time had been naval aviation's #1 safety priority because of the extended hours that the aircrew had on that platform. The old seat was causing problems with back and neck injury, as well as the seats also were a challenge in a crash-worthy environment. So what we at the NOC did, using our human systems group, as well as in partnership with PMA 202 and PMA 299, the Seahawk program office, as well as our human systems program management office, we brought together a gunner seat task force formed with operators and with the field. We solidified the requirements. We put together a very low-cost, $300,000 organically made prototype, took it down to the safety symposium, had them try it out, and got a great amount of support for the project. So much so that inside of the acquisition cycle, we got funded within the next year. And then within the Warfare Center, we did the design, we did the initial prototype, we did all the detailed work. We actually brought in an additional company to help us with the early prototyping work. We then partnered with industry, Keomac out at Salt Lake City, and then in that forum, we were able to go out, build 14 initial test seats, show that they very quickly, we turned those within a 1-year time frame, the testing, the manufacture of those. And then we did all the certification, all the analysis work within NOC AD, and then made an early production decision within the year from kickoff. And then within 3 years, we reset the entire fleet because we had a full partnership with Keomac, because our folks understanding, producing, doing the build to prints, and then partnering with Keomac as a small business and having that exchange on how to make those build to prints even better so that we could run product faster, able to reset the entire fleet in just over a year. So from start to finish, 3-year process, that's well inside anybody's acquisition cycle. We went from a requirements forum all the way through full design to full fielding within a 3-year cycle. And we did that because the Warfare Center, we as a customer, in this case, working with Keomac as a full production producer, we were all knowledgeable. We were all one team. It was seamless, and we were able to run fast, as well as having that gunner seat task force with the field be there every step of the way and help us with the design changes and able to move faster. That's the kind of environment that we are hoping to do time and time again with the projects in the Warfare Center environment. Next. Then you may be thinking, okay, that's a gunner seat. Maybe not as complex as something like, I don't know, maybe a complete ISR modification on an aircraft, right? Using, bringing AESA radar, EOIR ball, latest comm nav systems, beyond line of sight communication systems, advanced data links. Do you guys do that work? Yes. We have been doing that work now since our inception. We built a flying classroom for test pilot school in the early days called A-STARS, doing a very complex integration of an AESA radar, EOIR ball flying classroom environment, all the way to the example shown here today. Greg Worcester, my project lead for the CN 235 Security Program Office case that we're doing right now. We are building an integrated ISR platform underneath the BPC case for the Royal Malaysian Air Force, converting 3 of their CN 235s into really state-of-the-market ISR platforms with a maritime surveillance radar, EOIR capability, line-of-sight communication systems, data links, as well as a roll-on, roll-off pallet for mission systems integration. We're going to place 3 of those over in Malaysia to be able to help us, to be able to help them with eyes and ears in the South Pacific. Greg's been working that partnership with Science and Engineering Services, SES, out of Huntsville, as well as an international partnership with ISD out of Portland, Oregon, and PTDI in Indonesia that's actually doing the build with this CN 235, as well as working with international airworthiness offices in both Indonesia and Malaysia. And the entire build is being the equivalent of a supplemental type certification that we would have normally done with the FAA with the Indonesian and the Malaysian airworthiness certification agencies. So if you can believe that, we've done that entire build process over the customer in Malaysia, the major OEM in Indonesia, and then with our 2 partners on the West Coast and down in Huntsville, as well as having a core LSI team that's managing all of that effort across the globe. We started just at 2 years ago. Right now, I'm thankful, even though we've had tremendous COVID challenges this year. We just finished up ground runs yesterday, and we're going into formalized testing over the next few weeks, and we're set to deliver 3 aircraft in the next 2 quarters over across the sea. So the whole point of that being is that, yes, we're able to run on an international scale out of AIRWorks in partnership with our own offices right here at NOC AD and NavAir, as well as with our industry partners, being able to work projects that span the globe to deliver capability. So amazing work that Greg and the team are doing on the CN 235. Next chart. I also talked about how we could be a catalyst for many program offices to do sustainment type of mods on the aircraft, on AV aircraft. So the next 2 charts emphasize that we are able to rapidly bring ECPs or tech data packages or challenges that a program office have been working to do more standard modification work. For the F5 aggressors with PMA 226 and PMA 209, we've been able to re-outfit the entire F5 aggressor fleet, 43 aircraft, with a new digital air data computer. That now opened up for that PMA, the aggressor aircraft, the ability to put newer avionics like ADS-B and Mode 5 IFF onto their platforms, because now they've got a good backbone to be able to work from. We did that entire project in just over 2 years, and we really leveraged our prototyping limited production MAC, working with Dayton T. Brown and ISS out of Pennsylvania to get that work done in a very short time frame. All the tech data package initial development was for the installation was done in concert with the Aircraft Prototype System Division, but mostly that was a effort that we were able to run fast with Dayton T. Brown. And then on the next chart, with the T40, with the T45 UHF radio and TACAN replacement, Sinatra, our training fleet of aircraft on the T445, had a tremendous challenge with obsolescence issues with both the TACAN and with the older radio we were again able to bring commercial off-the-shelf technology in, put that solicitation out in our POP-MAC environment. Did some of the initial work with our aircraft prototyping system division on what an A kit, what a production kit should look like, and then through a very quick, just over a 1/4 source selection process, we were able to team up with BAE, and now are well into the first round of doing fit verifications, and we're going into full installation on our first prototypes here in this next quarter. So again, being able to turn capability very fast, being able to work in a government LSI environment, partnering with industry, and getting capability out fast. So those are 4 good examples of how our business model of being able to bring product onto aircraft in a very preset, a very organic environment, and being able to complement what a larger OEM industry is doing on our naval aviation aircraft. We're able to do that within the constructs of the Warfare Center. The next slide, I want to also talk about our other partnership with across the Warfare Center, as well as with industry on additive manufacturing. Dan Kravinsky, sitting here at the front, also has a booth in booth 224 over at the other side of the hall. We, AIRWorks, partnered up with NavAir about 5 years ago, bringing AM processes, techniques, and capability, trying to make it a mainstay into the NavAir environment. Dan and his team were the backbone for the business investment to be able to stand up those processes, those standards, to make sure that from an engineering perspective, we could qualify and certify AM parts just like they were an alternate source for any tech data package or any drawing package that a program office already had, as well as not only being able to do the engineering process, the certification processes, and be able to show that those resources could be brought to bear rapidly for a program office, but then also be able to do parts themselves. So Dan has stood up a spectrum of different machines, as well as networked out with Lakehurst, who has a large AM manufacturing capability, as well as Webster Field that has invested, and the FRCs to bring that network together that can now be at more of a network disposal for our program offices, and then to take different levels of complexity of parts and run those projects to show that that capability works and can be brought to bear at a reasonable cost and a reasonable turn time to make it more of a commonplace, a more NavAir standard for our program offices. What we have here is 3 examples on this chart for increasing level of complexity from what we call green box parts that don't have any airworthiness implication, typically using polymers in that realm, all the way to those that do have airworthiness considerations with blue box level 2 and then blue box level 3 for our CSI and critical safety item parts. And we have demonstrated and done meaty projects in each of those areas. At booth 224, Dan has a number of those parts there as examples you can pick up, take a look at. And Dan would love to talk to you about all the background on those parts, those processes, and the capability that we have at the NOC. Next chart. So finally, I've talked about we have a large customer set within the naval aviation community, and now also with other DoD partners, including our COCOM customers. The other piece that I want to emphasize is we also realized 3 years ago at AIRWorks that we needed to be deliberate in how we delivered product, and if we were going to grow, we needed to have a very disciplined basis. So I'm proud to announce that as of 2 years ago, AIRWorks is an AS 9100 organization, ISO 9005. Very important if you're going to go put capability on an aircraft, that you're doing that with a quality backbone and a supply chain management backbone. So we are proud that we just re-upped our certification this last month and are an AS 9100 ISO 9005 organizations, along with the Aircraft Prototype System Division, who also has the same certification work to be able to work on naval aircraft. Next chart. So this is my wrap-up chart, and really where I want to open it up and ask if you have any questions. But before I do that, I do want to introduce Krista Roderwald-Franz, my deputy director. Also Dan Kravinsky at the Additive Manufacturing lead for AIRWorks. Elizabeth Archer, who is our PEOA portfolio lead, and Dennis Hareen, who is our PEOT portfolio lead. And then one of our 30-something young, aggressive project leads, Greg Worcester, is running right now most of our SCPO portfolio, as well as now getting into our classified special project portfolio. So with that, it has been an honor to brief you all on AIRWorks, and look forward to questions out there.
Do we have any questions in the audience? Yes, sir.
Roto, Reuter, one of the things that often comes up, and it's great, the capability that's been built over the last 7 years, for sure, at AIRWorks. And there's no doubt there's an organic requirement that you guys are great fulfilling. How do you see the Venn diagram between the OEMs and other component manufacturers and AIRWorks when it comes to, again, enhancing this velocity of technology and capability into the fleet?
No, that's a great question. So one of the benefits that I had in my background is I was also a major platform system program office director, right, for sister service, right? And what I always had a struggle with on that major program is that I didn't have a lot of variety to bring capability onto my fighter platform, right? I had a great relationship with my OEM, as almost all the platforms do at NAVAIR. In fact, all the platforms do. But at the same time, I also had capacity issues, right? And then specifically, if I wanted to do work with that major OEM, it took me a deliberate process to be able to do exploration, to be able to bring, especially state of the market capability on fast. If I was wanting to do state of the art, integrate with my weapon suite, things like that, yes, I want a very deliberate process. But if I want to bring state of the market onto my fighter platform, then being able to turn fast with my OEM was a little bit more challenging. It would have been nice had I had maybe a warfare center that could, in a federated environment, be able to bring that capability onto that platform, allow me to even go into an exercise environment, maybe try it out, and if it succeeded, if it met the requirements that I was probably still maturing at the same time, then I could run deliberately, right? I could get that onto the platform, show its operational utility, see if it had operational merit, maybe even get prototypes out in the field, maybe get a squadron stood up, and then I had the option, because now I owned, right, the technical data for the product. Now I could either go and integrate it fully into my weapon system, marry up with the OEM. Now I'm a very smart customer. I can even be a better partner with my OEM and get that capability integrated in probably a more robust fashion than what I ever would have done before, right? And then at the same time, I could also have an exit ramp. I might not even want to bring that capability on, but I might want to look at the next state of the market. I never really had that pump, right? Now today, we're offering that as a way to get onto the aircraft, right? That's where I think that we're a complement, especially if we can turn capability inside the acquisition cycle, especially since our threat has been evolving greater and greater, right? So I think that's the complement that we can afford, especially as a warfare center, in being able to really have that government insight, be able to bolster that program office, and be able to turn that capability a little bit quicker than what we had before, right?
Okay,
I know our small business partners out there and our mid-tier partners have a lot of capacity and a lot of capability to offer, and they're very hungry to run fast. I'm
Yes,
looking
sir.
at one. Yes.
Okay,
Been
we
a
have
very good partner.
time for about one more question today, sir. Yes, sir.
Morning, Jerry. Thank you so much for your time. Mike Sostek, SAIC. Along the lines of your comment there, can you just comment a little bit about your process for moving equipment from the prototype phase to maybe the full rate production contract? And do you envision maybe coming down the road a long range acquisition forecast for the production contract?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, I think it was on the chart, we have nearly $8 billion in ceiling on both our prototyping and limited production MAC, as well as our full rate production MAC. When you combine that with what NavAir has and NOC AD has with our sustainment contracts, both CMARS and Kraken, to be able to do sustainment modifications as well as sustainment support, we have nearly $30 billion in preset contracts that are available to our PMAs. So that one chart that I put up, the spectrum chart, that allows us to run with technology that's been identified early in the impacts and the OTA environment, be able to get it out of that environment faster, especially with being able to put OTAs in place in mid-tier acquisition that allows us to take state of the market, transition it quickly, prototype it, show that it meets a evolving requirement, and then get it all the way through into a far part environment and maybe even into an OEM environment. That now is all preset. So I think we've only begun as a NavAir community and as a warfare center to really exploit's the wrong word, but to really expand the capabilities that we've all set up now over about the last 3 years and really take advantage of it. So we're really looking forward to energizing that, as well as in that environment, it's also open for partnership, right? So for those vendors that are already on those that prototyping limited production MAC environment and our full rate MAC environment, they can also partner with industry and enhance their own core capabilities. Does that answer your?
Well, Jerry, that's all we have time for today. But thank you so much. Wonderful presentation. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you all very much.